3, 2. We are live. A little bit sooner than I thought. Everyone ready?
Ready.
Here we go. It is Friday, January 11th, 2019. I'm Micah Sargent, and right now we are going to talk about CES and a bit of privacy stuff, because this is the iMore Show. And joining us this week is not only Lori Gill, but also a floof in the background for listeners who aren't watching and tuning in. There's a kitty sitting on the couch behind Lori. So we've got a double host on your end, Lori.
Hi, thank you. This is Pizza. He is my giant, lovely cat that decided he wanted to join us and talk about CES.
I love how chill Pizza is.
He wanted to talk about the dogs of CES that Russell Holly published on Techno Buffalo. He was a little offended by that because he thinks that represented at CES. So that's why he's here.
I love it. We are also joined by Georgia Dow. Hello, Georgia.
Hello, how are you doing, Mike? We're together again.
We're back in the saddle. We're rocking it and doing it. Yeah.
Are you just making that up?
Yeah, that was just that was quite a weird song.
You got a friend in me.
No, that one is not made up. That one is my friend in Canada. Well, my other friend in Canada. It's Renee Ritchie. Hello, Renee.
Hey, Mike. Lori mentioned something that we should probably tell listeners of the show because they may not be aware of it. But earlier this week, Mobile Nations announced that we brought Techno Buffalo into the family.
Yes.
We've got some buffaloes on board now.
John Rettinger wants to spend more time with his YouTube, so we get the benefit of having all that awesome buffalo-sized content right here at Mobile Nations.
Yes, we're very excited.
And we used every part of the Techno Buffalo.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and Russell Holly, yeah, he posted the dogs of CES, which is what started Lori's cat on its jewel style. Allow me to retort.
I didn't do that. This is all Pizza.
All Pizza.
Yeah. I mean, he's his own man. He wants to talk about the fact that cats.
Yeah, Mr. Holly.
Doesn't he have his own? He hosts, doesn't he? His own podcast.
See any cats in your coverage?
I just can't get over that name. That's such a good name.
Yeah. Well, you know. My partner and I
pizza.
both love pizza, and then we got a cat, and so why not name it after something we love?
Now, does that make you worry? Like, you know, you're like, let's eat some pizza, and pizza looks at you like, that's not cool.
It was almost named Whiskey, according to that logic.
I love it.
That's his middle name, actually.
So, Lori, you spent quite a bit of time at CES. Renee, you spent some time at CES. I spent time on the internet scavenging for CES news. So I think, and Georgia, you probably heard a few things about CES, yeah?
I might have. It might have been a thing.
So what's this thing? What are you talking about?
Very funny. So tell us, Lori Gill, I don't know, you want to give us some highlights of CES and some other things that you may have seen?
Yeah. So I'm trying. It's a blur. Yeah, it's a blur. That's what I wanted to talk about, a blur. On Monday night, CES unveiled, showed off a bunch of kind of like highlight things. It's sort of like a small version of the big thing that comes later in the week. So you can get a advanced view of some of the cool things coming. And one thing that stood out for me was from, I'm trying to find the article so I say it right, Sphero, the company that makes those adorable, I love so much, those little spinning robots. They have a new toy. It's designed for kids, and it's called Specdrums. And it's this color-coded pad that you use a little connected ring to tap on. And you can assign different drum beats to it. So you can kind of play around with the colors using this little ring. Now, that's awesome, but that's not that incredible. But for me, the most incredible thing is that you can actually assign a color to the ring. So if you wanted to say, they displayed an apple and an orange and a banana, anything. So what you do is you kind of get the app ready to code, and you touch the color, and then you assign that to a drum beat. So you can like play these like crazy beats on your fruits, or you can, you know, on your shirt, you can just like change the colors and like tap out some great fun things on your shirt. It's really fun. It's incredible. It's a fun little thing. I think it's great for kids. It is customizable. So it'll teach kids a little bit about coding while making it this fun, interactive, musical experience for them.
Now, does the sound come through your phone? Does it come through the Ring?
It comes through your phone, or, you know, at the display, they had the phone connected to a Bluetooth speaker. So you can get some serious audio out of it because it comes through the phone, so you can connect it to larger things. In fact, when they were at the actual CES on the show floor, they had a DJ booth, and there was this guy who was just like tapping out beats and just like having a good old time and like going crazy. And it was like, wow, this is rad.
That sounds great.
It was pretty cool. Yeah. Another cool thing that I saw.
Oh, you know what I was depressed about though, Lori?
What?
Like every CES, all the big news happens right before the actual show. Like by the time you get to the show, it's almost like the show is done, and it's a really weird vibe. But this year, the Sunday night, they announced iTunes and AirPlay 2 for Samsung televisions, and then first thing Monday morning, they announced AirPlane 2 and HomeKit for LG, and then later in the day for Vizio or vice versa, and then later in the day for Sony TV set. So by the end of Monday, you have Samsung with iTunes and AirPlay 2, but not HomeKit, and then Sony and Vizio and LG with HomeKit and AirPlay 2. A couple of them are doing older models. LG is not, because of course that's the one I have.
Of course.
And everybody lost their mind over Apple's change in entertainment strategies.
Yeah, so Renee, let's talk about that for a minute. It's really incredible and super awesome that this is happening. What's your take on why this came up out of nowhere, really?
I think my take is that, as we've seen, like I call it now the saturationing. Like it's a play on the quickening Highlander. The saturationing is or the happening. It's that we've reached this point where smartphones are just ubiquitous, and pretty much everybody who wants one and can afford one has one, and everyone who wants an iPhone and can afford an iPhone has an iPhone that they're pretty much happy with. So it goes into a more PC-like upgrade cycle, where maybe if your old one gets hurt, or like a purple is a new color or something, like there has to be some reason to prompt you to upgrade anymore.
That'll work.
It's not just like automatic. And so for a long time, Apple was using services and everything else to make the iPhone more valuable. But now they're starting to see that people want their services. Like China, a country where Apple, like their sales went down, but their services went up. And this is a country where people don't usually pay for services, to be right frank about it. So Apple's services are attractive. And I think they've realized that they can also function as a services company. Yes, they can do things to make the iPhone more appealing, like iMessage. But when it comes to all this TV stuff that they're investing billions of dollars in for like Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon and the Battlestar Galactica people and J.J. Abrams, they want as many eyeballs on that as they can possibly get. So having it on Samsung TVs and having everyone be able to use all these different TVs as AirPlay targets just makes the services more valuable.
Renee, I have to say, I'm so happy in this moment, because earlier in the week, I subbed in for you on Mac Break Weekly.
You were so good, by the way.
What you've said there are the things that I said earlier. So I feel like
you nailed it.
You did it. You did it.
I don't know what the words are.
Represented.
I represented, and I feel happy about that, because I agree. I think that this is Apple saying, look, people have their phones. We're not going to be able to convince people to, not everybody. They're going to be able to convince me. They're going to be able to convince all of you to get new phones. But for most people, no, that's not going to be the case. So we gotta do something. And as long as I've been transcribing those financial calls, the number of times they say services every single time goes up. And it's clear that they are very much, in services. And like you said, not just for Apple, or for Apple devices. It's not just services within the Apple network. It is just, we make these services that are available on different platforms. And so I think that it's smart, and I'm excited about it, that other people will get to use iTunes. And I was just reading today about what it means to have HomeKit control for a television. And it goes beyond just like being a hub or something like that. You're going to be able to control like brightness. You're going to be able to control power state. That's what I've wanted for.
And Micah, you can say Siri, play what Battlestar Galactica on my living room Apple TV, and it'll just do it.
It'll turn it on. It'll start like that's so awesome. I can't wait. And so like there's no complaint, at least from me here. And I know that there are the privacy concerns, as there always are, and those are things that we'll dig into. And Renee, you might have some more info on that.
Yeah, Apple said they're not giving any access to any data to any television vendor, which is good.
There you go.
I mean, people are going to say that they're using the microphones to spy on what we're watching anyway, but for the rest of the non-tinfoil hat world, we're fine.
I wonder how that's going to affect our usability with Siri and these television sets. Then, we already know how hard it is for us to get Siri to do what we want because she's protecting our privacy. I wonder if the television the situation is going to be even
frustrating.
I think we lost Lori.
I think so too.
So Renee, do you think that this means that Apple's going to spend, more money and development on software versus hardware, or do you think that's just going to stay the same though?
I mean, Apple, people like to say Apple is a software company or a hardware company to make a point, but Apple's always been a product company that they use software and services and hardware all integrated together to make products that they think are differentiated and experiences that they think are compelling. And I don't think that will change. I think this is like the iTunes on Windows moment where even Steve Jobs didn't want it, but they told him it was so important that he had to do it. And he was like, fine, give them their glass of water in hell. And now there's just a lot more hell, and you got to have a lot more glasses of water because there's no dominant Windows style platform in the future. There's a bunch of different hardware and software and services platforms that we all have to contend with.
So I'll say it again. Does that mean that they're gonna spend more time to make Siri better, or it's just gonna be iTunes and other stuff? And I'm gonna have Siri
that's separate.
Yeah,
I think we talked about 2 weeks ago. They hired the head of Google Search and AI, and they've given him all the power now. He's an executive vice president.
We've had this happen before, where it sounds like they're gonna really work on making Siri awesome. And
I don't know if they've ever done this before, though. I mean, they gutted Siri and they made a bunch of bad decisions. This is the first time they've got again, this guy ran Google Search and AI. I mean, I don't think there's anyone else better in the world. And he had an ethics problem. It wasn't that he was bad at his job. He believes that AI has huge potential but huge risk, and he believes that you have to invest in ethical AI. And he thought that Apple was the only place at scale where he could really do that. And I think that's an endorsement of not only their commitment but their policies.
Hmm.
And two, we've seen before where Apple will say oh, we've made these improvements to Siri, but it was with the current group of people and the current folks leading the team and everything like that. And so this is this is the first time where we're taking the person who was in charge of the assistant that has been lauded as the smartest assistant among the virtual assistants available. And I do think that we've got I think there's still some time to wait, but I do think we've got a good future ahead of us.
The funniest part was Lori is so good. People who haven't seen Lori work at CES, they're in for a treat because like you said, Siri on these devices will be able to control these devices. Lori and I were looking at a ton of Alexa stuff, and Lori's like, does this Alexa light? Can you, and oh yeah, you can control all your Alexa stuff from this light. And I was like, can you control the light? And they're like, nope.
Oops.
What?
And over again.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That makes no sense. That's silly. So what else did you see at CES?
Okay, so just to be clear, let me make sure that I'm on track with you guys right now. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and you say 4 when I'm done, okay?
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. We're on track. So I think some of the other great things that I saw announced, there's so many. So I got to sit in with Russell Hawley of the Greater Mobile Nations, but I think he was there on behalf of Android Central for that particular one. There's these new smart glasses that are called Focals by a company called North. The glasses have actually been around a while. They're Toronto based, and they exist already. They've got smart glasses on the market. They there's this little holographic projector that goes on the side of the lens, and it just projects this tiny little display right on your eye on the inside. It only shows you notifications, text messages, things like that. It's not full integration smart. It's not like you look up and, you can find directions to get down the street or anything. It's very simple and clean. I really like this idea because, first of all, the glasses actually looked really good. Some of my coworkers were saying that they look like, I think Mr. Mobile was the one that said it looked like a Snickers bar on the side of your It's not that bad. It's
I'm surprised someone gluing the Snickers bar.
I'm surprised he stopped eating Impossible Burgers long enough to notice.
I know. He really liked Impossible Burger, which is another amazing thing that we got to see. I wasn't there for the Impossible Burger demo, but a bunch of the team were there, and they raved about how realistic this non-meat was, which I thought was the weirdest thing because from a perspective of somebody who is like, I have many, many friends that are vegetarians and vegans, and the last thing they want is to taste and have the texture of something that's meat-like. They're the opposite of that. They want not meat. They don't want it to taste like meat. Yeah. But what was kind of explained to me and what I understand now is Impossible Burger is not trying to make vegan and vegetarian food. They're trying to change the meat industry so that we're not using as much resources and destroying the environment in order to produce as much beef as we do, and probably in the future all the other animals. I think beef is just their first one. So that's a different perspective. Their idea is that they want carnivores, they want meat eaters to feel satisfied nutritionally and emotionally by the beef that they're eating, but not be eating beef. So I think it's a great concept, and it's a great idea. And I'm going to put this out here now. My immediate concern when I hear something like this is, how long is it going to be before we find out that it causes cancer or does some other terrible thing?
I thought you were going to say it was people.
But the nice thing is that it is a soy-based product, so it's something that we've already been eating. They're just mass manufacturing one of the parts that is more difficult to manufacture to be able to get to make it more juicy and delicious to that. So it's not like they're creating something that is new and weird and chemically synthetic. It's not synthetic. They're synthetically creating more of something, which we do a lot of. Like
they're using yeast to grow heme that's usually found in soy.
Yeah. And so when you hear genetically modified, like the words are scary to that. But when you actually look at how many foods we eat all the time that have been modified, or like, again, genetically, which
Captain America was genetically modified, and he's great.
Well, even if you look at the domestication of animals, like we really did work to modify them, and it made them, in some cases better, but I guess some people could argue about certain animals should not have been created. Fine.
Tiny Ewok dog.
A lab speeds up a process that we've been doing for hundreds of thousands of years. Like corn is one of the most genetically modified creations, and that's because many, many, many years ago there were people who were like, this corn doesn't taste very good, but this one's very
sweet.
Corn's
only grows this big, right? Like it's 3 inches long. That's like. And then
unnatural selection. What's wrong with that?
Let's mix them together and try to make a new corn. And so we just did that by hand for so long. Or
the same thing for disease infestations, right? So it doesn't wipe out our entire set of resources in agriculture. We've been doing this a lot. I think that it looks really scary, and I'm totally with you on Lori on asking the question is really important. Like, what is this? And is there suddenly going to be this? Because it's true. We've had that happen. It's not people.
We've had that happen.
We are meat. It's not meat.
No, and I think what I mean by that, and like obviously this product is not somehow like weirder and worse than anything else. But what we've sort of grown into this. I'm sure you've heard the term farm to fork, and we've grown in a new culture of natural ingredients and straight from the farm foods and organically grown meats and things like that. And to me, what the fear that I have is that what I think is a great trend in natural, organic, homegrown, straight from the farm foods might be sort of swept under the rug as we start providing these other options that are grown in labs. And I hope that we can kind of have a balance where we can. I definitely think that we need to abolish the beef industry, the chicken industry, the pork industry that we have in the U.S. because it's offensive how bad it is. And this is definitely a way that we can veer people away from eating too much beef. But I would hate to think that we would stop this trend of naturally grown ingredients and fresh fruit and vegetables and all that. So that's what was on my mind when I was thinking about this. So.
I think that you're right. But there'll always probably be a place for, you know, different ways to do things. Because I think that some people will never kind of, you know, look into, you know, doing, like, some people will want to always go organic. I think some people will be like tried and true. I want an animal to be killed so that I can eat it on my plate. But I think that giving the options is great. And I think that you're right. This is for like people that would like to eat less meat for either health or for environment or just to try different things. And it gives them the option to that. And there's also now like lab grown actual meats. So it's interesting to get the options. And as long as like the FDA and all of the different places kind of look into it. I
have a suggestion. So, like, I know you're saying heme isn't people, but if it was bad people, like the people who let us fly on,
very insistent on this.
No, like the people who keep violating our privacy.
Renee.
What if it was those people?
He's going for a segue, but it's a creepy segue.
It's a creepy segue, but let's go for the segue. Who are these people? Which would be these people?
There were two. So you can have rage-induced. There was two this week. I mean, there's some every week, but there was two this week. That were particularly egregious, and I'll mention them both, and then we can decide which one we want to get angrier about.
I'm not going to say either of them should be made into burgers.
Wait, let me finish.
Oh my God!
So first was Ring Doorbell, an Amazon company, and because they felt pressure for growth, they gave unfettered access to their Ukrainian developer team for the storage for every video from every user of their product. They also allowed executives to log in. It's sort of like an Uber God mode, which was the subject of previous abuse stories we've done. And if they had your email address, they could look at any of your cameras. And these included doorbells, indoor, outdoor cameras. And while they say that nobody did anything creepy, they didn't do anything to prevent anybody doing anything creepy. And this is not the first time Ring has had these issues. And one of the parts that bothered me is they did not encrypt anything because they said they didn't want to interfere with potential business opportunities. And I don't know how to parse that. Either it means that they wanted their executives to see what everybody in the world is doing with Ring doorbells so they could come up with ideas for products, or they were going to try to do like some monetization based on what they observed on our behavior. And either of those makes me think that maybe they could be Heemburger candidates.
Oh my God. That is pretty egregious, actually. So I don't know. Maybe
it's really bad, though. This is really bad because when, like, I could hear inside of my house with my Ring doorbell. Like, I could hear what was happening in my home. I guess I had bad walls, but I could actually hear inside of my house. So this isn't just like watching who comes and goes for your door because you're like, well, I'm not doing anything wrong, so it doesn't matter. But this is a huge privacy issue. This is like a peeping Tom coming over to your house and saying, you know what, I'm just going to do your, raking the leaves of your house. And you're like, yeah, that sounds great. And then you see them just staring in at you in your doorway. It's really bad.
They're sitting on your couch just watching you as you're walking around your house.
This is huge. I think that this has to be this has to be a violation that has to become a crime. That's the only way that this is going to end. There is more and more people are getting caught with doing this. Renee, you're going to give the other Heemburger candidate.
You're right. There's no fine that you could give Amazon that would hurt them. But if the people in charge went to jail for violating laws that if they broke into your house to do, that would be a huge dissuasion.
And how can this not be? This is my privacy. This is like you going into my house, you looking through my phone, you having me sign a EULA that says that you get to track everything that I say and do while you're there. These type of things should be criminal.
Oh, speaking of which, you just did the phone thing. So the other one this week was Motherboard, which is part of Vice. They decided to pay a bounty hunter $300, and within a few minutes, that bounty hunter had the location of someone's phone. And it turns out this was known before, but everyone sort of figured they fixed it. That the U.S. carriers and probably other carriers in the world sell the location data of your phone to second parties, who then resell it to third parties, who then give it to pretty much bail bondsmen and bounty hunters and debt collectors. and all sorts of people. And because those people, you know, there's no policy enforcing them, they just resell it to anybody else they want. So with a couple $100, you can pretty much stalk anybody you want.
Lovely. Lovely. I'm up for them being there. Plus there's like Facebook that's like now on like as on phones that you cannot delete out, so it becomes bloatware on your phones to it. Like, let's say companies that stick stuff on your phones that you cannot get rid of and that tracks you even if you do not use it.
That was Georgia mentioned a third story this week. This story is that you cannot delete Facebook from some Samsung phones. It stays as a stub. They say it's to make it easier to reinstall it, which we all know is BS, because how hard is it to install Facebook? You don't need, they're like, no, it's a stub so that when you reinstall the app, you're just reinstalling an app. People have installed Facebook before. We don't believe this. Other people think that it's creepy and it lets Facebook persist on your phone.
But it does. They've already done tests of it.
No, but the important thing is I get that people think their phones are too expensive. I get that. I really feel that. But when you point to other companies and say they're cheaper, these companies have almost always made them cheaper by making these deals. Like Lenovo was caught doing man-in-the-middle attacks to inject spyware. Other companies have installed rootkits to put ads in there. Samsung pre-installing apps. They're not taking your money, but they are they're taking other people's money to do creepy stuff with your stuff. And you got to think of what actually costs you more in the long run.
Yeah. I'm really like, so on my phone, I use DuckDuckGo because I'm just so sick of it. I'm going to be switching it onto all of my computers as well. The cool part now is that while I'm browsing, at the bottom of my phone, when I'm like just searching for like whatever, something, it gives me like all of the different stuff about DuckDuckGo. I can go to the website and they talk about privacy, security. They tell you the apps that you can download to find out what is the privacy rating of different websites that you go to, because websites that you go to can also track you to that. And it's a great resource if you're wanting to become more privacy conscious, to understand what you can do and what you can't do and what you should do. And I think that everyone should take a look at, moving away from Google. It's the only thing that they care about is their bottom dollar, and if they can have to go to jail.
Bet your bottom dollar.
Sorry, that's my rant.
No, it's a good rant. It's a good rant.
DuckDuckGo. It's actually really good now. Like, it was a little bit sketchy before and it was weird. Now it is great. And then I'll just show it to the screen. Oh, I don't know if anyone's going to be able to see that because it's there we go. A little too close. So it says like, we don't track you, but other people do. And then you can click to the website and it gives you all different types of information. So my Reddit use is being tracked by Reddit. And it just goes through and you can read it and you click onto it and they'll go to the website and you can find out a little bit more about what they do and what they don't do. And you can also go through them through DuckDuckGo. It's really great.
Cool. Before we move on to more topics, I do want to tell you all about our pals at Thrifter. Thrifter is a way to save money on everything from gadgets to home goods by shopping based on value and not hype. That means you're going to get the best deals, the real deals, none of those fake discounts. If you sign up at thrifter.com, you're going to get thoughtfully selected tech deals from places like Amazon and Best Buy, as well as other deals. It's not just tech. It's all the stuff and none of the fluff at thrifter.com. That is, the newsletter is a great way to get deals that are curated. You can also head to the website to get all of the deals, or you can follow them on Thrifter at Thrifter Daily to get those deals piped into your feed. If you're looking for places to spend your cold earned cash, your cold hard cash, Thrifter is going to be that place for you while you're also saving money doing so. Lori Gill, have you taken a peek over on Thrifter's website for us?
So I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty and I can't actually load a website at the moment. So maybe
Georgia? Yeah, Georgia. Yeah, Georgia, you find something for us.
Okay, here we go. I'm heading down. Oh, Lordy.
Oh, Lordy.
Here we go. Oh, Lordy. Here we go.
It's going in 5x5.
I have to say, there's something nice also about the website is it's just really fun to kind of like go through everything. Fast. It is really, really quick. They do a great job with that.
And the image is right there. The deal, it shows you how much you're saving.
Oh, okay. So I got one that I have two that I really like, but here we go. Okay. So one is the Safe Travel little USB wall adapters for only $11, and they're beautiful. So
Oh, they're cute.
aren't they cute? They're wall adapters. They're $11, and they're so that when you travel, you can just plug everything in, and it's like a little tiny square, but they're beautiful. Like
Oh yeah, they're like for all
really,
over. They're like
yeah,
international travel devices.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, wow.
And like that's a good price. Like everyone needs that. It's something that you don't think about until it's way too late to that. And then I'm gonna go
Why
to
are they so
recycling
cute?
because this I'm actually looking for, and this is probably the most stunning recycling bin that I've ever seen. So make recycling a new habit with $40 off of the Superhuman dual compartment step can. To
I
be
want
able
that
to
thing
know where
so bad.
it's
Sorry.
gorgeous. It's $160, but it is beautiful. Like it looks like art. Like Renee, this is what you should get because it looks like bloody art.
It's the one, honestly. So it's recommended. I know so much about this because like it
Do
sits in
you?
my it sits in my wish list until I somehow have the extra money to buy this thing because it's a Wirecutter recommendation. They have done
And
step
Wirecutter,
testing.
if Wirecutter recommends it, you know it's great.
You know it's great, and they've done step testing to like 500,000 presses that you can hit that step thing to make the lid come up. And it when the lid comes back down, it seals the trash and recycling, so there's no smell that comes out.
No way.
And it's super easy to change each of the individual like bags that go in the recycling side and the trash side. This thing is really cool, and the fact that it's on sale is pretty awesome. So like if you've got some some expendable income that you want to spend on something that can like last in your house for many, many years, this is a great thing. And I don't often see sales for the Simple Human stuff. So pretty good, pretty good thing.
And it looks like art. Like I would see that, and it's like garbage cans are usually ugly. Like my garbage can, it's an ugly thing. It falls over, and it's just not treated with respect, probably because it's not that pretty looking. This is beautiful. So it's art. It looks like art. It's stainless steel. So if you have a fancy looking house or want to make your house look more fancy, this is beautiful.
And to smell good in the kitchen or wherever you keep your trash.
Especially if you're pregnant.
Yes.
Because you smell everything. It's
like
I could smell what someone... No, sorry. Well, I could smell like I knew what someone ate for breakfast when I would go through the mall everywhere. I knew, oh, this person had this person had that. I had like this... I was like a schnauzer. Like
You're
I could like
superhuman.
Yeah. Not in a good way. You don't want to be able to smell better. You don't. It's not good.
No, so is that okay? That's for a different show. But I have so many questions now. Also, a kind of dumb thing, but it's something that I would be totally into. There's a little $10 rechargeable lighter. It's USB rechargeable, and it's like bendy on the end, so you can light candles with it. You can light different things because it uses an arc. It's an arc lighter.
Ooh.
So,
that's just cool. I don't smoke or anything, so I wouldn't really need it. But
I use it for candles and for incense.
Candles,
like I don't
that's
smoke.
That's a cool way to do it.
Bird uses it for fireworks.
My brother uses it for fireworks. He's the firework guy.
Sparklers.
I like that.
So that is thrifter.com. We found a lot of deals today that are pretty exciting. Go get your fix at thrifter.com. As I said, you can also follow them on Twitter at Thrifter Daily, or if you're in Canada, that's at ThrifterCA, or if you're in the United Kingdom, that's at Thrifter UK. Thanks so much to Thrifter for sponsoring this week's episode of the iMore Show. Let's go ahead and move on. So, HomeKit was out in full friggin' force at CES this year, which had me incredibly excited. When I talked to Apple about the HomeKit software authentication hitting iOS, one of the things was that I was going to have to wait a little bit to hear from companies who were using software authentication for their devices. And it is clear to me now that CES 2019 was the time that I was waiting for. This is the period where these companies are saying, surprise, we've got HomeKit gadgets now. And that's because in many cases, it's the software authentication. If people are going, what the heck are you talking about? It used to be that if you wanted to market your products as works with Apple HomeKit to get the authorization from Apple, you had to include a little hardware chip in your device that took care of all of the authentication stuff. That is no longer the case. However, a lot of people think that means, oh no, they're not as good, they're not as secure as they used to be. That is 100% factually incorrect. The fact is, the requirements for security and authentication remain the same, whether you use software or you use hardware. Apple was actually making it easier on companies because they knew that it was so difficult to match those authentication requirements. They said, we will have a chip available that takes care of all of that stuff for you. The fact that software authentication is available now means that the companies themselves are responsible for providing the authentication required by HomeKit in order to market it as a Works with Apple HomeKit product and to be able to integrate with Apple's HomeKit platform. So still just as safe. It's just that companies can have that power on their own now to do that authentication. They still have to send the device into an Apple testing facility. It still has to pass Apple's requirements. It still has to be able to be set up completely with the Home app for iOS, meaning you don't have to sign up for a third-party account. You don't have to go through the third-party app, meaning that it's all happening locally on your network, which is good for privacy and security reasons. So nothing has changed except that it makes it easier for companies who have had gadgets out there for a long time to be able to add HomeKit to be able to add HomeKit integrations to their devices. So that's why Belkin, we are seeing much more gadgets there. I'm so excited, Renee, because IKEA is coming out with blinds, smart blinds that aren't going to cost $1 billion to have. And you better believe I'm going to be looking into that when they come out in April, I think.
So great.
So many cool things. And one of the things I really want to talk about here is the brilliant Net Atmo video doorbell. So
stark contrast to Amazon.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So there are so many video doorbells and security cams from different companies where it's kind of like it's almost an MO now at this point where you buy it and part of the deal is that after you've bought it, you're going to be paying a monthly subscription to get access to all that video because they can't store all that video in the tiny little device that you have. It pipes it off to a server and gets stored in their cloud. Ugh. Depending on the company, that's not going to be, what you want if it's looking inside your house or even outside your house. So NetAtmo had the brilliant idea to include the ability to pop in a little SD card and it will take care to record the video and you can look at it locally without ever having to sign up for some online subscription. I think it's a pretty smart move.
Yeah, you could also set it to your private Dropbox if you do want an online repository, which is a great option as well.
Okay, I hadn't heard that. That's awesome.
Yeah, so just with the SD card, it'll record 48 hours and then start overwriting, but you can pull anything you want in the meantime. Or you can, if you want to, because Dropbox still runs off of Amazon's cloud and some people don't want any of their lives online. But if you want to, you can optionally put it to just your Dropbox. So NetAtmo doesn't have any access to it either. It's just yours. And if you... it also has this great theft protection. It's like if someone tries to rip it off the wall, it'll snapshot their face real quick so you can try and see who did it. And it's got an accelerometer so it knows when it's being moved or messed with. It was just it was one of the this new phase of being respectful for privacy and thinking about it. And like there's a door lock that uses the European standard of multi-point so that it's harder to break into than a deadbolt. There was like so much more awareness of that. Yeah. And it almost depressed me because at the same time, and I'm going to shut up after saying this because I'm tired of men talking about it. We still face the shadows of sexism past, which kind of made me really sad.
So Lori, do you wanna break out on what is Renee talking about, this sexism of times past?
Gee, is there a such thing? So one of the big to-do things that just kind of came to light as CES was opening. This actually happened, I think, back in October, but we all kind of learned about it just as CES was starting. There was a company, and I'm trying to find the name of it right now.
The toy itself was Osei.
Osei, yeah, that's true. The toy is called Osei. That's probably, that might be the company's name. Yeah. It was actually awarded by CES, by the CTA organization. It was awarded a CES award for best. I think I wish I had this. Yeah, it was an innovation award. I'm sorry that I don't.
Or it was a robotics award.
Yeah, so okay, it's the Osei device. It used to be called Vela. It's developed in partnership with an engineering professor at Oregon State University. It was awarded one of CES's innovation awards. They were selected as an honoree for the CES Innovation Awards, and then CES later contacted them and said,
yeah, so it was just pulled. They took away their award, which
and said that they couldn't be on the floor either. They couldn't even.
There's a little bit more to that. So first, let's talk about the fact that they told them they took away their award because it was considered to be immoral and oh gosh, I'm
immoral,
so sorry.
obscene, indecent, profane,
indecent.
or not in keeping with CTA's image.
Okay,
which CTA, if people don't know, is the body that's over CES.
Yeah. So they took their award away for that reason. So there's two parts to it. So there's step one, they took away their award, which is very unfortunate when you're a company and you're trying to get people to pay attention to you and you get an award and okay, this is great. There are going to be so many companies that are looking at us. They're going to be interested in us. They're going to invest in us and want to talk to us. And then to have that taken away using terms like profane and immoral when you're talking about something like this, that's a really devastating thing to have happen. So the founder of the company kind of fought back on this and was really just kind of not okay with the way this was, what was happening. So if I'm not mistaken, they then told that company that they couldn't be at CES. So it wasn't both at the same time. It wasn't that we're taking away your award and you can't come to CES. It was that we're taking away your award, and then based on your behavior after we took away your award, we're now not going to let you come to CES. I believe is the way that worked out. So I don't want to misconstrue this idea that they banned this particular sex toy and none other. I think there was a little bit more involved that created the entire company can't come to this CES. But it really does shed light on. I think it's certainly an odd thing to give a sex toy an award, but it's definitely it was a great idea. Somebody had a great idea, which was to present to the world that there is innovation in the sex-related technology market, because I don't want to go into too much gory detail, but you can start with the things that we had 20 years ago and then expand to what we have now. And there's so much personalized, customized, detailed stuff that goes into the things that they're creating now. And that's innovative. Mm-hmm. It's not just like a piece of plastic that vibrates and it's done. They get really expansive on the different ways that they produce that, and having to do with how fast your heart is beating or how moist your skin gets from, the changes in your body. Like these things are all they work with that and provide something a little more customized to you.
The weird thing is that it's not like CES has not had sex toys and sexual health related issues and things out before.
Oh my God.
I went by where I thought, when I went to CES, I went by thinking that these were strange styluses. I swear to God, I'm so sorry, judge me. I know. I thought they were styluses. I don't know if you were with me at the time, Renee. Anyways, I'm like, look at those styluses. They're all such weird shapes. I'm so sad and pathetic. But anyways,
so
it's true. It was true. And then I'm like, why won't they let us? They wouldn't let me take a photo. And I'm like, why won't you let me take a photo? And then I got it. I did. No one had to tell me. Thank God. That would have been so embarrassing. But I got it that these were not. These were sexual toys. They're not styluses. Why couldn't you take
a photo, though? I don't understand.
But they didn't want to have photos to that. But last year they had a female, half of a female sex doll that was there, and she actually gave an interview and she was there. And that was, again, I think that it's our sexual health is really important. I think that this is a really big deal and an issue in these old kind of Judeo kind of thoughts of how we should not at all be sexual beings. This is the way our bodies work, and it's important to understand it. The more you understand your body, then you know when something's going wrong. Then you can understand what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy. Life is rough as it is. Let's not get into that. But it's a really interesting thing that this one item, because it was getting so many accolades, they took off, which is, Again, was it because it was for female sexual health, or was it because it was getting a lot of accolades? Whereas they've had all kinds of different male-oriented sexual things that they actually had proponents to, they gave interviews to, they left on the show floor. They didn't win innovations that I know of, so maybe that was the issue to it. Maybe it wasn't a male-female, maybe it was just sexual health.
Yeah, so I think like let me just like quickly just say again, I'm fairly certain that the issue was that it was a sex toy that got an award, because at CES I saw dozens of sex toys for men and women. It wasn't a female related thing.
It was because it was getting so many accolades and people were talking about it, and they didn't want to have this related to CES because they thought they would get backlash. That's what you think, Lori?
I believe that that's the case. And of course, again, like if it were something relating to men's sexual health, it may not have even lost its award. And I do believe that there is gender bias in here, but I don't want to assume that this had to do with the women's sexual health, because there were dozens and dozens of women's sex health toys there as well as men's.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's gotten more news because they were pulled than they ever would have. Right now we're talking about it, right? It's the Barbara Streisand kind of thing that's happening effect. Don't read this, try to get rid of this photo. And now everyone wants to spread this photo to it because we probably wouldn't be discussing it if it was not for this case. But I think that it is a really important topic. Sexual health is important. It shouldn't be taboo. We should talk about it more often so that we can understand. We know when things are right or wrong, and we don't feel embarrassed to be able to go to our doctors or to our therapists to be able to talk about if there's a problem with something. So I'm happy we're talking about it, even if it was because it was.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It's great because it's creating a conversation that will hopefully allow for, a sex toy next year to win an innovation award. Hopefully it's a women's health sex toy and not a men's health sex toy, because that will be a big issue if that happens.
But then at least we'll be talking about it. Like really,
that's true.
Either way, we'll discuss it. The more that we talk about it, the more it becomes less taboo. So that's still a win in my book.
If it's a cat sex toy, then Russell Holly will be all over.
Oh, Jesus,
Lord, have
Renee,
mercy.
did you have to go there? Did you have to go there? Then the dogs get all upset.
Okay, with that, we're saying goodbye. I want to thank all of you out there for listening.
This entire show has to be like not safe for work or something.
Renee wants
to
turn people
listen to this show by your kids.
He wants sex toys for cats. You heard it here first.
No, this one, we have to label this one.
You can find me at Georgia_Dow.
No, golly gee. Okay.
We have to send a little disclaimer. You can't listen to this with your kids in the car.
You can mail me at Russell at.
Well, you probably
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Georgia Dow, people are looking to get some help with this episode. Where can they go?
Wow, you might want to check out anxiety-videos.com or master-life.com, and we have videos that will help you if you have any anxiety about talking about these things. Check it out.
Excellent. Lori Gill, if people are looking for you online, where can they find you?
They can find me at Lori Gill at most of the social things, but at Apaholic on Twitter, APPAHOLIK.
Excellent. Renee Ritchie, if people are looking to watch your videos or get in touch with you, how can they do so?
They can do it at imore.com/vector, or just go to youtube.com/vector show. We hit 10 million views a couple days ago. So thank you all for all your support. So
congratulations, Renee. Congratulations. If you're looking for me online, you can find me at Micah Sargent for most things. You can also head to chihuahua.coffee. That's CHIHUAHUA.coffee. You can find all of our writing over at iMore.com. Thank you so much to Jim Metzendorf for editing the show. We will, of course, be back next week with more. I hope, depending on when you're listening to this, you have a great week or weekend. This has been The iMore Show.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, I got to run, guys. Talk to you soon.